My name is Sarah Steele. I'm from Visa, and I'm the Senior Director for Small Business Products in North America. We'll be diving into the final panel discussions of the day very shortly, but I just wanted to share a few words before we dive in. As the leading payment network in the world, Visa aims to empower entrepreneurs everywhere by offering secure and efficient solutions that allow them to do more of what they love. On top of payment cards and technologies, Visa has a small business hub where you can find on visa.ca things like educational resources, insights, and savings offers from a wide variety of technology providers that can help businesses save time and money. In addition to that, at Visa Canada, we recognize the unique challenges that women entrepreneurs face. Research shows that women entrepreneurs have been underrepresented traditionally in Canada and globally. Not only are they tackling the current challenging economic conditions like inflation, labor market challenges, and rising interest rates, but women business owners are more likely to dip into their personal savings to start their businesses, and they're also less likely to feel that they're fully funded. That's why we at Visa Canada created the Visa Grant Program, which delivers $10,000 grants, mentorship, and coaching to women business owners. Since 2021, we've run this program 5 times, and the grant program has provided 40 women entrepreneurs with a grant and a year of mentorship and coaching, with the next set of 10 recipients to be announced in July. The goal of this program is really to supercharge their efforts and level the playing field. Each time we run the program and have the opportunity to meet a new set of inspirational women entrepreneurs, we're truly blown away by their unique businesses and the impact these women are having on their communities. Visa cares about inclusivity and stands by it. Our team in Canada is made up of over 50% women on our overall team and on our leadership team. We value the diversity of voices that guide our business to uplift everyone, everywhere. And now, as promised, we've got a phenomenal group of women and entrepreneurs to discuss pushing boundaries and disrupting the status quo. And here to introduce them and moderate the discussion, we have Jennifer Cooke, who is the Director of Inclusive Trade at Economic Development Canada. Jennifer, welcome to the stage and over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that introduction. And thank you to the Canadian Chamber of Commerce for hosting this wonderful event today. Hi, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Jennifer Cooke, and my pronouns are she, her, and I lead the inclusive trade team at Export Development Canada. It's my absolute pleasure to be moderating today's session, pushing boundaries and disrupting the status quo. We're excited to be able to take some questions from the audience at the end. So just a quick reminder to everybody in the audience, please enter your questions into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be sure to try and answer as many of them as possible. I know today's session is going to go by super quickly, so we want to try and take advantage as much as we can. Before we begin, I'd like to also acknowledge and give thanks for the opportunity to join you today from the treaty lands and traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit and many other First Nations in the Métis, who are the ancestral custodians of these lands and whose descendants still call these territories home. As I do this, I commit to do my part to right the wrongs of the past and the present. So given my team's mandate and the work that we do, I'm really excited for this fantastic panel of women who are pushing boundaries, owning their own narrative, and making waves in what some would consider male-dominated sectors to scale their business their way. At Export Development Canada, EDC, we want to inspire more businesses to reap the benefits of international trade or growing into global supply chains. And these women today will certainly inspire us. I really believe strongly in the untapped potential to grow Canada's economy by empowering more women and diverse entrepreneurs in our country to scale and grow beyond borders. For those of you who don't know about EDC, we're Canada's export credit agency, and our mandate is to help Canadian companies do business successfully in international markets. We do this by equipping them with the tools they need to succeed: the trade knowledge, insurance, financing solutions, equity, and business connections. So without further ado, let's meet our panelists. This is truly a remarkable group of women with us today, and you can check out their full impressive bios and connect with them on LinkedIn. So first off, I'd like to introduce Jodi Huettner, the founder of Helga. Jodi, please say hello and give us a short statement about your business.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jodi Huettner. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm honored to be living, working, and playing in East Vancouver, which is the unceded land of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations people. My company is Helga Inc. I offer companies a way to find more safety, productivity, inclusivity, and employee engagement by designing and supplying inclusive personal protective equipment. So there's a mouthful there. That's it.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Jodi, and welcome. So next, I'd like you to meet Emma Todd, the founder and CEO of MMH Technology Group. Emma, can you please briefly tell us what MMH Technology Group does?
Hello, everyone. My name is Emma Todd, and I'm happy to be here. My pronouns are she, her. I am the CEO of MMH Technology Group, which specializes in creating enterprise-level blockchain solutions that help organizations improve their operations and enhance their customer experiences. I also do Bitcoin mining. Those are the two things that we do.
Amazing. Oh, I'm excited to dig into conversations about that. We also have us joining today, Rory Richards, the CEO of NUQO Modular. Please introduce yourself, Rory.
Good morning, everyone. Haksqual Tanoya, A Tukwikwi, Wachwat A. My name is Rory Richards. I'm coming to you today from the beautiful unceded territory of the Squamish people. I'm also the CEO of NUQO Modular. We are a modular construction company specialized in First Nations housing and affordable housing. And I'm honored to be here today.
Wonderful. And our final panelist is Lara Murphy, the co-founder of Ryan Murphy Construction. Hi, Lara. Please introduce yourself.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jennifer, and thanks for having me today. I'm thrilled to be here. My name is Lara Murphy, and I am co-founder and president of Ryan Murphy Construction, based out of Calgary, Alberta. We're a female-led construction company that is having a lot of fun out there and breaking some barriers. So thanks for having me.
Amazing. So let us start by just, I love storytelling. So I'd love to hear a little bit about the story behind each of your entrepreneurial journeys. How did you start and get into the field of business that you're now leading? Why don't we start from the top? I'm going to ask each of you, but, I know these stories can take a long time and we have several questions. So I'm going to ask each of you to just give us the high level overview. So Jodi, why don't we start with you? How did Helga Inc. come to be?
Sure thing. I'll do this quick. I started out here as an engineer in training on the coast of BC, where I worked with largely groups of tradespeople, and I wore PPE from head to toe. And I really struggled to find PPE that fit my body, worked for my anatomy, and let me do something like take a quick leak in remote country, bear country, cougar country. And I felt it impacted my job success. It also impacted my health and safety on site. And I'm a sewer. So, I started Frankensteining my own gear for proper fit and for proper functionality. And when I came up with a winner, I thought other women could use this too. And it's time we have more inclusive PPE out there in the field. So that's my story.
Such a great story, Jodi. And it's something that in my world I come across women and other non-binary diverse entrepreneurs who are really truly solving important problems like this and creating more inclusive environments. Lara, why don't we go to you next? You're sort of next on my screen. Would love to hear how you got started with your business.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jennifer. First of all, I love that quick leak. Sorry, thanks, Jodi. That made me laugh out loud. I think just growing up, I was curious, and I had a group of individuals and families around me that allowed me to explore my curiosity around construction and architecture. And it really just began that way, as simple as that. And when I was in university and just prior to, I had opportunity to travel Europe and playing soccer, and was able to fall in love with architecture and building in general. And that curiosity spurred me starting my own company. And then fast forward, going to Banff and meeting my co-founder, Karen Ryan. We were the only two women on the site at the time. And truly, it was a conversation of, wow, interesting. We could do something here. Why don't we collaborate together and see what that can look like? And really just laid the groundwork for us to set up a company that was very different, inclusive, and one that tried to look around and break barriers, because we are a very antiquated industry that is underrepresented by women and many people. So we're working away at it, plugging away. It's been almost 15 years and we're still at it. But that was, I guess, really just how things got started. But I would say curiosity definitely set me off on my path.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that story, Lara. Rory, you're in a similar field, building and construction. Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Sure. My background was actually in government relations, public relations, and I was recruited by a modular construction company to do their stakeholder relations. And I was curious about it because I knew that modular was a powerful tool to solve many of the crises we have in Canada, whether it be housing or childcare. So I took the role on and entered the construction industry and was sort of, it was sort of like a time machine going back in terms of equity and equality. And all the ideas that I brought to, of course, I was the only woman in the company as well. And any ideas that I brought forth were sort of just poo-pooed. I said, let's build, modular childcare. I was told, well, we know you're in the baby zone, Rory, but we don't build childcare here. I had 3 young children at home. Or I said, I'm Indigenous. There's an Indigenous housing crisis. Why don't we use modular to address that? And I was told something not very nice about Indigenous folks. And finally, I just said, you know what? I fell in love with modular, but I didn't fall in love with the construction. So I said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to start my own company, and I'm going to be everything I was told not to be. I'm going to be a woman. I'm going to be Indigenous. I'm going to build social housing and Indigenous housing and childcare. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And some of my colleagues followed me, and other progressive folks in construction, I guess, also have come under the NUQO umbrella. And what we've been doing is just creating a safe space within construction for women and other people that have been marginalized within the industry. So that's our genesis story, I guess.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. I'm sensing a theme here of, starting in an industry, but wanting to do it differently. Emma, I'm dying to hear your story of how you got started in the business of blockchain and Bitcoin mining. Tell us a little bit about your business genesis story.
I'm happy to get into that, but I have to say that so far, I'm just so happy to be on this panel. The stories, I can't wait to hear more. And I really feel that after this, I'm going to be reaching out to everybody individually just to find out more, because this is so many questions I know we can't really get into. But so for me, I was in banking. I did banking right out of university, and I had been doing it for 15 to 16 years. And, after a while, I'd done it at lots of different banks. Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, I ran their balance transfer department, RBC, CIBC, and I was looking to get into fintech. And so I went to my friend's birthday party, and she's a well-known figure. And I said, I think I'm looking to get into fintech. She said, what about blockchain? And I'm like, what? This is 2016. And she's like, what about Bitcoin? I'm like, you're still speaking Greek to me. I do not know what you're saying. And she said, why don't you come to a conference that we're having? And I'm like, okay, this sounds really interesting. So I went to the conference. It was at Mars Innovation Hub in Toronto. They had it there in 2016. And I went and I was blown away. I sat down and looked around, and there was KPMG there, Deloitte was there, EY was there. And I realized this is something that I wasn't familiar with because I was in banking, right? Traditional banking. And I just listened to all the stories and I realized this is going to be huge. And what really drew me to it was remittances. Now, I don't know if people, particularly when you're an immigrant like I am and you send money back to like the Caribbean where I'm from, a lot of people do that. To the Caribbean, to the Philippines, to Mexico, a lot of people do that. It was a $700 billion industry in 2020, and they're anticipating that by 2030 it's going to be a $1 trillion industry. And so you send your money via banking, and it costed me, I think, $80 to send $6,000 to Jamaica. And I was sitting in the conference, and someone said, "Oh, it cost me $2.33 to send $500,000," and I was like, "Excuse me?" And I thought, this is going to be revolutionary. And just listen to everybody talk. They were so interesting, so smart. I thought I couldn't go back to banking. And at that time, nobody knew anything about Bitcoin or blockchain. Everyone thought I was crazy. They thought I was nuts. My family had an intervention for me at a wedding in Atlanta. And I was crazy in 2016. And then at the end of 2017, when Bitcoin got to 20,000, then suddenly I was revolutionary. When I first got in, Bitcoin was at $400. So then, and then it just sort of evolved from there. But I love it. I'm frustrated a lot of days, but I'm very happy that I'm here. It just makes me happy to be in this industry with all these wonderful people.
So great. I love that story. And how often have we been told you're crazy? It reminds me of a really great commercial that I just saw again for that I hadn't seen in a long time. Well, let's show them what crazy is, right? That's what women do. So, you know, amazing stories that each of you bring forward and are continuing to do things differently in your business and in your industry and you know, to overcome barriers. I want to sort of shift into that discussion now to talk about some of these challenges and barriers that, you know, research and data still says that women entrepreneurs continue to face. You know, things like being told our ideas aren't going to work, or, you know, that tends to lead to barriers to access to capital or to networks or, you know, contract opportunities. So, you know, and definitely we can see that these barriers are compounded for women that have intersecting marginalized identities, I can imagine. So I would love to hear from each of you in your experience. Were there any specific challenges that you wish would have been easier for you to overcome? Or were there any specific supports that you found particularly helpful that maybe others in the audience could benefit from knowing about along your entrepreneurship journey? And maybe I'll go a little bit in reverse. We'll stick with you, Emma. You know, what were some of those barriers that, or one of the barriers that you wish would have been easier for you to overcome, or anybody in particular that helped you along your journey?
So, one thing I will say that I learned, part of we had a lot of challenges. There still are a lot of challenges, and I've got some really great pictures that one day I'll post. Of we started having meetups at Mars of people interested in blockchain and in Bitcoin. And in the early days, there was a room full of 500 people, and 495 of them were men, and there were 5 women. And I've got a picture of the 5 of us, and we're like, yeah, that was it. And I was the only person of color. Everybody else was not. And so while that was, some could view it as a handicap, for me, it's all about mindset. I looked at it as everybody knows who I am, because they would be like, who are you and what do you want? So that was an opportunity for me to talk about my business and what I was doing and how I could help them. So for me, it then became, okay, everyone, I am standing out here because I'm the only person of color. So I started wearing red, and it's something I continue to this day. I tend to wear like bright colors. I'm wearing tiger print today. Like, I try to stand out, that way people see me. And then I try to also make sure that I know what I'm talking about. One thing I've learned, if you don't know what you're talking about, do not say anything, right? Because I want to make sure that I come across as knowledgeable. And so it's all building, you know, building the personality and things like that. So what I also learned was with those 5, with the 5 of us, with the 4 women and myself, we had each other. And so we leaned on each other, and they were incredibly helpful. I cannot begin to tell you how I don't think I would have accomplished as much as I had without these ladies changing my mindset. And really, anyone can do what I'm doing as long as you change your mindset. It's really not that hard. And I say that as someone who's accomplished a lot of things that I didn't realize that I could do. And just, that's probably the one thing if I had sort of done it a little bit earlier, because it took me a while to realize that I had this really great group of women. I'm an only child. I'm used to doing things on my own. Go out there and build yourself a community. Find a community, lean on them. They can help mitigate some challenges that you're going through, things that you didn't know that, oh, it wasn't this way, you can do it this way. They can really help you. So that's the one thing I would tell people: find a community. If you can't find one, build one, but make sure you have one. It can be very, very helpful.
Such great advice. And I can speak from experience. That's really a valuable nugget. But I love that idea about mindset and, using it to be your superpower, to stand out. I just love that. And I'm like kind of like you, Emma. I like to wear bright colors for that exact reason. Anyone else want to comment on this one in terms of, a barrier that you wish would have been easier, or that, there was something that helped you overcome a barrier that you'd like to share? Yeah, Jodi, please. Let's hear from you.
Sure, certainly. So it's actually still a bit of a barrier to this day. And the thing is that my product is so niche. So protective equipment designed using women's body data, women's wear grading rules, field tested on women. So first, there's a large education component, because the people I'm trying to sell to don't believe that it's a problem. They believe women are making do just fine in the smaller sizes of men's protective gear, which is simply not the case. Anything from PPE to tools to machinery. We wonder why in trades, industries, and active STEM, we've had such a hard time attracting and retaining women. I would highly suggest that it's because everything has not been designed for our experience. So, right, that's a challenge that I really wish was not a challenge. And I'm doing lots of advocacy work on inclusive standards to try and change the story going forward, which is super important. Something that really, really helped is impact financing. So if you've ever heard of Corliss, I think, Jennifer, I know you from SheEO, which is now Corliss. They have a revolutionary funding model that actually streamlines funding to entrepreneurs working on the world's to-do list, the United Nations SDGs. And if it weren't for that community and the help that I received, I probably wouldn't be here right now. So building the community that shares the values that can really offer you the support that you need, because there are dark days of the soul of the entrepreneur, that's for sure. Yes, that's my 2 cents.
And if I may, I would just add to bring both what Emma and, sorry, Rory, I was quick to the draw there. Jodi are saying that a combination, absolutely that community, but I feel also in the construction space, when you're able to give someone that support and appreciation of who perhaps they don't even know they can be. And it holds true in any particular industry. And I think back to dear Angela Bassett making a quote about Tina Turner on her passing, saying when she met Tina Turner after she had played her in What's Love Got to Do With It in the movie, Tina turned to her and said, you weren't impersonating me. You brought out your inner Tina that you did not even know you had. And I think while we move forward in our business and in life, if you can imply that and really empower other individuals that are looking at getting into a tough industry where you do stand out. And certainly we all do in the industries we're in, and whether it's by our bright colored jackets or the color of our skin or what we're working on and what we believe in, I think that's really for me a common thread and what made me so excited about today's panel. It is that being proud to stand out and know that you're doing something different. But for me personally, if I know I can inspire one human to do something that is a little bit outside of their comfort zone and go for it, to explore it, then I feel like I can put my head on the pillow at night and feel pretty good about how things are going. So thank you.
So great. Rory, do you want to add to this one? When it comes to challenges that you've overcome, or that you've, found a way to get around it, or, anything that stands out to you?
As Lara can probably attest as well, the construction industry can be very mercenary, very toxic. women are 3% of the construction industry. We are really, really marginalized. And as a result of the gender imbalance, it can be really tone deaf as well. This is an industry that constantly bemoans trade shortages and then, ignores or marginalizes half of the population. So I think that having support from other women, just for your own sanity, is really, really important. For me, I've just learned to ask for what I need, and if that's mentorship, and if I found someone, even by seeing them speak on a panel or being in a meeting with them, if I feel a connection with them, I'll break that veil and ask for time with them and see if they're open to having a regular connection and someone to check in with. And I love what Emma said about owning your uniqueness and taking up space. And as women, a lot of the times we're fearful of doing that. And I think it's really important that we take up space, whether it's with, our clothing or speaking out in meetings or advocating. Take up more room than you need, because there's a lot of other women out there that haven't yet found their voices, and we need to make space for them as well. And it also lets you know that that it signals to them that you're there. They can find you, because we really do need to stick together.
I love that. Ask for what you need. It's something that takes practice, as I've learned, and is not easy for us women to do. Ask for what you need. And I think we would find that, most of the time, the majority of the time, people are wanting to help. And
I'll just add one more thing to ask for what you need, Jennifer, is not being afraid to talk about money. And I think that in business, in every industry, it's a way women are often taken advantage of in business transactions, is that we're not scared to do the work, but we're scared to ask for compensation for it and to have very frank conversations about money. So that really goes into that category of asking for what you need.
So that is such a great segue, Rory, into the next thing I wanted to ask each of you about, which is really what needs to happen to build a more inclusive entrepreneurship ecosystem for women and diverse entrepreneurs? Like, what should governments or associations do to make some of the systemic changes that need to happen, particularly for entrepreneurs like yourselves who would be considered, operating in some of these male-dominated sectors, or not? Are there, things that you would say, if we could change this, it would really pave the pathway for more women entrepreneurs to grow and succeed? Maybe I'll start with you, Lara.
Sure. Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, it's a great question, and it's certainly one that's not a clear, defined answer, but I would say if you're speaking specific to trades and unrepresented females in certain industries, i.e. like construction, one of the things that we need to, as a collective group, whether that's organizations, associations, or governments, is to get in early and talk to students when they're still in school and start to empower young women. Like, I was the same. I happened to have a family that didn't make it seem odd that I had a drill in my hand and a couple of ladders on my Firefly and a lawnmower in the back of my vehicle driving around doing these things. It was never, ever anything that they made me feel I was doing, quote unquote, something that boys would do. So, but I also didn't, when I went to my guidance counselor and spoke to her, who I adored, I mean, at the time it was teaching, law, doctor, and in fairness, they're university educated. So of course, that's what they know and what they promote. There's just certain ways that I think if we can get to the population younger, it will change everything. Because all of what I had as a preconceived notion of who and what I could be was predetermined. There's so many learned behaviors. And nowadays, more than ever, with so many things flashing in front of our eyes and young people's eyes with TikTok and Facebook and all of the social media that just puts undue pressure. I think if the earlier we can mentor and be part of these kids' dreams and let them know that, I mean, I was never necessarily the fastest and the smartest, but I worked damn hard and I had a goal and a dream and I kept going and I kept pushing, and you're going to lose more than you win. But that's okay. That's life. Life is bizarre. But the earlier we can reach these students and children to give them and just implore them, whether it's to get into the trades or to Bitcoin or making some kind of new and innovative change or to start their own business, that's what we need. And especially for young women, because I do fear that there is that stigma attached to it, or maybe a little less of the push, but we need that in from government, education, and also with different associations. I know for myself, I do as much mentoring as I can, and I often learn more than I'm sure I give to the mentees, but it's all part of that, us working together, and today is a big part of that as well.
So true. It's so well said, Lara. And I, when I think about how we grow up as girls, right? It's, we're taught not to take risk. And we really do need to change that systemically, and that it's okay to take risk and that we can do it in a smart and careful way, and bring everything we have to the table. Breaking stereotypes, so important. And, each of you is so inspiring and doing that today. So thank you. I want to move over to Emma quickly because, having come from the banking world and to speak about access to capital for women and diverse entrepreneurs, like, are there some changes that you see? I mean, clearly with Bitcoin and the work that you're doing to sort of remove some of those barriers that folks face. But what more can, for example, financial institutions be doing to make it easier or better for more diverse entrepreneurs to scale and grow?
So I'll share something with you guys. Here is what I've learned. We still don't have as robust system as we could for small business owners. And what I learned, particularly during the pandemic, is that the government, especially in Ontario, they really ramped it up and said, what can we do to ensure that these businesses don't go under? So what I really think that they should do is, what's the first thing that most people do when they start a small business? You register, right? Assuming you've got legs and everything's good, you register. What they should do is have a checklist on that government site saying, one thing you should do once you've registered is join this organization. And when you join that organization, then gives you a checklist of things that they're recommending that you do, including, finding groups that operate in your business and things like that. Because they only started ramping that up, and they've in Ontario they've got a fairly good newsletter that tells you what to do as a small business owner. And I think that's something that everyone can benefit from, whether you need it or not. At some point, it's really helpful to look at things like that. I also think that it's hard to put into words how access to capital can really help you when you, like during the pandemic, we all needed access to capital. It was just our lifeline. Can you pay your employees, things like that? And it really was I'm not going to kid you, for me, in the beginning, it was like a drop to your knees for a couple of days to figure out how you're going to pay your employees during the beginning of the pandemic. And eventually, I was able to retool my business, and we actually ended up being more profitable than ever. Thank you, God. But that's because I was open to all these different things. But during those first 2 days, it was not really not a good thing. But what I have learned right now is that people are really trying. Now, they're trying. I'm not saying they're actually as successful as I would like, because in the pandemic, we had more time to sit at home and read, and we found out that only 3% of venture capital funds was going towards women. And we thought, oh, okay, let me rephrase that. I thought, okay, now that we know the stats, it's going to get better. It actually got worse. I still can't believe it. Now it's 1%. I'm trying to fix it. I'm looking forward to telling you guys how I'm trying to fix it once it's launched. But one of the questions I got as I'm going through the procedures right now are people are saying to me, and keep in mind, it's mostly men. In fact, it's all men, because they're the ones that really control the money. They're like, is this really a problem, Emma? We haven't really come across that. Well, no, because it doesn't impact you. If it impacted you, this would be a big problem and it would have already been fixed. And I have to point out, these are my friends. These are the allies that I have who have gotten me to where I am. These are people who have put me on boards because they're like, Emma, we love the way you think. We need someone like you. And they didn't recognize that it was a problem until I brought it to their attention. And they were like, oh. And so that is really what we continue to focus on. What I will share with everyone is, if you're looking to get ahead, and this is something I've learned, it's always good to have male allies because they're obviously in the rooms that you're not necessarily are, but here's where they can help you and here's what you need to do. Look for men who have daughters, because when they have daughters, they really do tend to advocate more for you because they say, I don't want my daughter to go through this when she grows up. That's one thing that I've learned, and it's been very, very helpful to me. Another thing that I found, and I'll touch on this quickly and then let someone else speak. I used to do a lot of work with the United Nations as SDGs. It's near and dear to my heart. And I was at the UN about 3 weeks ago, and the most impressive thing happened. They were like, okay, we have companies that are looking for funding. Guess what? We have funding. We're happy to give it to you. Just go out there and submit a document. So I want to tell people, if you're actually looking for funding, look for it. Just see what's happening at the UN, because I was quite shocked to hear that they have funding and they're looking to give it away. I'm like, what? Now that was literally for Africa, but they have other things. As long as you're looking to build, I'm sure we can find things for Canada too. So I want to tell you, look at the United Nations, and also there are other things that are out there. BDC is really great. And one thing that there are all these really great places where you can find funds. You just have to, go to a group and find out where they are and what they're doing, and have a network around you. So you build your network. These things will come.
Such great advice. Thank you. I'm so afraid that we are running short on time. So I'm going to go and take a question from the audience. And Sarah Roberts is asking us, how do you cope with the toxicity associated with traditionally male-dominated sectors that Rory mentioned? So maybe Rory, do you want to take a stab at that one? How do you deal with, or anybody, even Jodi, I'm sure you have to deal with this, you've already mentioned a little bit, but these, how do you keep yourself going, I suppose, when you keep facing toxicity in business?
Rory, do you want to take this one, or can I say a piece?
I need to take a breath.
Okay.
I can take a run at that one.
Sure, I can tell you honestly what I'm doing. I'm not sure that it's the best, but I can tell you what I'm actually doing. It happens quite frequently where the comments that I get just blow my mind away and take my breath away and take all the wind out of my sails. But I've learned to actually lean into it, because underneath that toxicity, there are actual issues that need to be brought out into the open. And because of that, I've restructured all of the talks that I give to front load and put those concerns right out there. Concerns like, yes, men in these traditional roles did pretty much develop society as we know it. They made the infrastructure, they built the roads, they built the bridges, they designed things, all things that we've been enjoying our entire lives. And now that we're trying to be a presence in the scene, we say they did it wrong. That doesn't go over well. So whereas some people would say that is quite toxic mentality, that is actually a held belief by lots and lots of people. So to front load with the fact that we are so proud of where we've come as a society and how we've gotten here, the truth is now we're due an overhaul. To reach the next level of human innovation and productivity as we know it, and equity, we need to do an update, a serious update. Anyway, that's my piece. Rory, have you finished breathing?
I'm going to defer to Lara and keep breathing. It's been a rough week.
Oh, no.
The trenches.
Yes, and I can understand. And thank you for that, Jodi and Rory. I believe, similar to Jodi's advice or her experience, it really is leaning in and and coming out of the gate as quickly as possible to look. Emma touched on it. If you know what you're talking about and you know your industry, just have the conversation, hit it head on. I think as you get younger, that becomes easier, wink, wink. But it's true that we found mostly a very positive, I mean, I have had, business itself can be challenging. There's no question. It's a slog, and this pandemic and people and things that you deal with can be challenging. But for me, I look for the small wins every day. And what is it? What keeps me going? Why? The pandemic gave me a different lens and perspective that allowed me to separate myself from the business in a healthy way, in a way that I didn't try to control too much. I didn't try to change too much. I really released a lot, and that helped me be able to take those moments that are unsavory and hit them head on. And you see some people, if you're on social media, and how comments come and you go in that rabbit hole, but some celebrities or even business people, the way that they embrace it and say, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm enjoying being a lesbian. So move on, let's go on to another topic. And so it's really how you approach it. It does hurt your soul, and I feel for you, Rory, if you've had a slug. I know you're still breathing over there. You okay, buddy? Okay, good. But it really is, but it's banding together and having the people, and whether it's your team, whether it's going out for a run, whether it's calling someone and saying, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing?" And we have all had those moments, and we all will continue to. But every time we can have a discussion and get down to those deeper seated perceived importance or control, or losing of some of that control, to your point, Jodi, where it's like, well, we've built this, well, what then it becomes an issue. But talk through it, work towards it, embrace it. And for us, we found it's been very positive because our approach is just that different.
Wonderful. And I can tell the support that even in a virtual room we can get from each other. And I think leaning on each other to and taking care of our mental health as women entrepreneurs is
so Jennifer, I just want to say quickly, Rory, you are not alone. We have your back. We can write it down. Just say the word. we write it down.
Thank you. See, this is what it's about. This is exactly what we're talking about.
It's what it's all about. And listen, we're at time, but there's a really great question, a couple of questions here, and I think it's a nice way to end. We're all moms, and a lot of us moms of daughters, or know other young women in our lives. And so the audience would love to hear what this panel would wish for someone had said to you when you were starting out, when you were a young age as a teenager, that would have helped you get here, or what inspiration do you want to leave for other young girls, young women, teenagers, young women to get into business? Super quick, one word each. Maybe Rory, I see you're off mute, so you can go and maybe leave us with something.
It sounds like a cliche, but I'm still learning this every day. You can't say it often enough. Trust your instincts.
Love it. Emma?
Learn to say no.
Oh, so powerful. Jodi?
Accept that when you get no's, it's just that you got to find another way.
Love it. And Lara?
When one door closes, build another door.
Gosh, I love this. I wish we could keep talking for 3 more hours, but I want to thank all of you for the incredible insights you've shared today, this inspiring conversation. It's really such a wonderful way to wind down the program today.